Hello and welcome to lesson 2. Now this one is all about learning ourselves. Now by the end of this video, what you're going to be able to do is determine a deeper understanding of who you are, what's important to you and why. We're also going to explore, as an added bonus, how you can influence and be affected by the world around you. So hopefully you've concluded your first experiment, or you're at least some way through concluding your first experiment from the first video, and you've learned that taking small conscious steps to making your life better is always a good thing. We always learn something new, and it's a continual process that you can only benefit from. So in this video, we're going to cover those topics. How can we gain a deeper understanding of who we are, what we are, how we are, what's important to me, and how I'm influenced and how I can influence the world around me to make my life experience better. So let's get into it, right? Let's try and get a good understanding of who we are. Now you're going to see this diagram on the right hand side, probably about, this way, that way, over here. And what you're going to find is that there's 3 circles. And we've got what I am, how I am, and who I am. We've got body, mind, and spirit, or soul. Now it's important because often we see these as different things, but how we think, how we feel within our bodies and within our emotions, and who we are spiritually are very intertwined, and they move through the world as one combined unit. So there's not much point separating them and looking at them independently, because if I change my mind, or if I change my thinking, it will influence how I'm feeling within myself, it will influence my mood, it will influence how I physically inhabit my body, and that will either make my spirit feel good or feel worse. Right? My internal sense of well-being will be impacted by how I think and how I feel. So what we are in the mind, how we might define ourselves with our intellect, and how we are in our heart, in our feeling, in our sense of our embodiment, are completely interlinked with each other, and they talk to and they enable that spirit to flow, to function, to grow, and to really flourish into the world. So what I want to do first of all is start there. I want us to start with this diagram here. And first of all, I want you just to consider, okay, so what am I is the mind, how am I is the body, and who am I is the spirit. So if we go down slightly, and this is taken from The Easy Way to Make Profound Change to Design Your Future action book, what we'll find here is the first exercise. So what is your current state of mind right now? Think about it, evaluate it. And this is important for now, but it's also important for the later lessons. So it's just our first experience, our first experiment of really trying to understand who we are right now in this moment, this exact moment while we do the video. So write down, evaluate your thoughts. What are your consistent trains of thoughts, or the ones that are just flying in right now? What does your inner voice tell you? What's your self-talk? What are you thinking? Just write down some thoughts. I'm excited to go to work tomorrow. I can't wait to have dinner with the family. Or maybe you say, I want to be in better shape. What thoughts are going on through your head? Just write them down in that circle. That is what is happening with you right now. Pause the video if you need to. Take some time, go through that. There'll be an exercise just below this video where you can look at a PDF and you can go through it that way too. On the right hand side, you've got body. How is your body feeling? And I do mean literally in your body, right? Now, I personally believe, and it's in yogic culture to believe, that it's also scientifically proven now that your body does inhabit your emotions. Now, the length and depth of understanding in the scientific community is not yet proven, completely proven, but we do know that how you feel affects your body. And I can prove it to you very simply. How do you know when someone is feeling upbeat? Because they stand a certain way, they look a certain way, they use their body. How do you know when someone's feeling depressed? Because their body's different. If you spend time in a state of feeling upbeat and positive, what happens? You end up standing different, feeling different. What happens if you spend time in a state feeling a bit depressed and down and your body's a bit, not very active and engaged, you probably end up with a sore back, sore neck, right? And you also have people, when they get anxious, they move their hands, right? And you have people that when they get anxious, their neck hurts. So how we feel and our body are very interlinked. How are you in your body right now? What's happening for you? That's what we want to get to now. Are you feeling loose? Are you feeling tense? Are you feeling pumped? Are you feeling flexible? Are you feeling acrobatic? How are you feeling right now? That's what we're trying to understand. So just write things down in your body, right? My body is feeling joyful. My body is feeling tired. My body is feeling exhausted, or my body is feeling pumped and ready to go. And you can label the parts of your body. So you can say, my neck is feeling loose. I'm feeling good. My back is actually feeling quite calm and relaxed right now. My chest is feeling ready to do some hard exercise. My legs are feeling a little bit stiff and sore at the moment, right? Let's just go through. How's the body feeling? Then we want to go down to spirit. And we really want to try and understand your genetic background. So what is the story of you? How did you come to being? We know for a fact that a man and a woman came together and you were produced. You know, we're not in a land of AI and robots yet, where humans have just been created electronically somehow. Although there is a passing of energy that is electric, that is natural, and happens between a man and a woman. When a woman has her egg fertilised by a man's sperm, it does create a baby. That is an electronic exchange. So, when that's happened throughout your genetic history, who have those people been? So, for example, my father was born in Pakistan in a village called Sir, in the middle of the mountains in between Kashmir and Rawalpindi. My mother was born in Liverpool to a Irish-Welsh family. If you look at their ancestry, they're Irish and Welsh, and they have some sort of roots in gypsy culture, but it's not quite clear. So I know roughly from my mum's side, we have a bit of a gypsy background. They were reading tea leaves and things like that, and they are quite a spiritual type of person. You know, I've got an auntie that does Reiki. My mum often reports seeing things like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. So, you know, that's one half of my route. I also know that my dad's dad was a kind of middle-class businessman. He travelled. He was actually born in South Africa. So I know that there's also travelling in my history. There's business in my history. There's enterprise in my history. Now, when I look on my dad's side, we don't have as much of a strong lineage or understanding of our lineage, because in Pakistan there's no records, things don't get written down so much, it's all passed through just word of mouth. But what I do have a very strong idea about is my granddad. So my granddad was born in that same mountain village, and he eventually went to war in World War II, was captured by the Japanese, and he was tortured. When he was released, he then bought a farm, but he knew nothing about farming. So a lot of the farm animals died, and we became a very poor family, literally begging to survive for sustenance, porridge, milk, oats, water, basic things we didn't have. So he then finds a way to go to England. I believe he won a raffle in a local post office that gave ex-servicemen in the army preferential treatment. And he ends up in East London, late 50s, early 60s, working in a Ford factory. He saved up enough money. He got the oldest brother over to work in the factory, and then the second oldest brother, they saved up enough money to get the rest of the family over. They lived in a 1-bedroom all together, but it was actually 4 bedrooms in a house, with each bedroom having a family of their size. So if you imagine a 4-bedroom house, 3 bedrooms on top, 1 bedroom downstairs, a front room and a kitchen. In each bedroom, you had a family of around 6 kids plus the parents. Now, some of those kids are adults as well, don't forget. So a very busy household, and probably with only 1 bathroom. And so that's the story of my father when he comes over at 4 years old, and he starts to navigate the world of being in East London at that time in the 60s. So for me, I know what I've inherited. I know what DNA I've inherited. I know what consciousness I might have inherited. And I also know that, I'm not just that. I was also born at a specific moment in time, and I'm a combination of those two energies, which will create a brand new thing. But it's good to just have an understanding as to your background, as to your heritage. And it's also good to understand what date and time were you born. Now, there's lots of different spiritual ways of looking at this. Some people believe in star signs. Some people just believe in astronomy. So not looking at star signs as a way of gaining a sense of the future, but just understanding that there are constellations, and those constellations do mean something, or that they do have a power, but not looking at them for answers, just that they are there, and how awesome is that? Other people look at them and they get guidance, and they analyse them quite deeply by using different methods. You could call them psychic, spiritual methods, like numerology, for example. But I'm not going to lead you down any of those paths. That's for you to travel down and scratch the itches that you're most curious with. Obviously, in our YouTube channel, we explore these topics, and we speak to guests, and we have authors and experts that talk to us about their experiences and what they know from these different areas. But for you, it's just for you to understand, first of all, spiritually, the I, the who. Where's that come from? What is that? What's the basis of that? And I believe it's the basis of your lineage, and it's the basis of your time of birth, your exact time of birth. Because I believe in you being born, us all being born, at a very specific time in a very specific family for a very specific reason. And that's why we have this calling, this sense of purpose, and this pursuit of seeking something that will allow us to feel at our finest, most useful for the world around us. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do. Just go through that exercise. Another exercise that I'd like you to do is coming up next. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to just think about what your values are. So, your values. When you look at life, and if you draw a big circle, let's say, draw a circle on a bit of paper, like this, right? Just draw a big circle. And then write some words at the top or on the side. Don't put them in the circle yet. We have health, we have wealth, we have family, we have spirituality, we have career. You might have friendship, you might have intimate partner. You've got various areas of life that need to be fulfilled to some extent so that we can feel at our finest. By choosing, consciously or unconsciously, one of these areas of life above another, it then dictates our behaviour without us knowing. So I want you to just have a think, right? Write down the words I've just said, right? Career, wealth, family, love, intimate relationship, spirituality, religion, and write down any other areas that you can think of that talk to you. Then have a look at all of those areas and just select 3. And now in your circle, divide it into 3. So you make like the hippie symbol in the middle. And in those 3 sections, write the word of one of the values that you've chosen. Now, all I want you to do next is think about, what does 10 out of 10 look like, right? So if I was to be at a 10 for career, what would that mean? What would that look like in my own mind's eye? Would I have a particular role? Would I have a particular responsibility? Would I be learning something in particular? What would that mean? What would that look like? Where would I work? How would I work? Who would I work with? What would I have? And let's say you choose the second value area of family. So what does a 10 out of 10 family look like for you? An experience of your family, whether your family that you were born into or the family that you're creating with your intimate partner, whatever it may be, whatever family means to you, what does that look like 10 out of 10? Again, define it. Get to the bottom of what it actually is for you as a 10. And in the last area, let's say you choose religion or spirituality. Again, what does 10 out of 10 look like for you? Now, once you've got your 10 out of 10s, go one by one and just understand, where do you think you are now out of 10? Give yourself a number, and just like we did in the last exercise in the first video, how can you close that gap? So if you're a 5 out of 10 for career right now, how can you close that gap? If you're a 8 out of 10 for family right now, what could you do to make it closer to a 10? And if in your religion or spirituality box that you've chosen, your value of life, if that is, let's say, at a 6, what would you do? How could you close the gap? What could you try? And then what you're going to look at after that is all these different ideas that will help you move forward in different areas of your life. And you can guess what I want you to do. What I want you to do is select the ideas that you will move forward with. Give yourself a time frame of which you will learn from them by. So let's say for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to try to improve my career by learning this topic, by engaging with people in the workplace in this way, by putting this idea forward that I've had that I've not told anyone about yet, but that would really help the business, or by applying for new jobs, whatever it may be. In your family side, maybe you need to call people more, maybe you want to give more, maybe you want to provide an environment where everyone can have dinner and get to know each other more, or spend more time together. Maybe you want to do more sharing with each other. Whatever it may be, what is the things that you will go forward with? Again, spiritual or religion, what would you do? You're going to meditate more, you're going to pray on time, are you going to read more of whichever book is, or books appeal to you? Is there some areas that you want to explore or learn from? Just write them down, right? Just write them down. What is it that you want to explore? Choose which ones you will try and stick with, and give yourself a time to learn. So 2 weeks is good. It takes 3 weeks though for the brain to start to change shape, and then it takes another 3 weeks after the initial 3 weeks for it to become the new normal. So a 6-week experiment is ideal. If you want to learn fast and learn quickly and just validate whether these things are good for you or not, 2 weeks is a good foot forward, because you would have experienced it, you would have felt it, you would have seen how it impacts the conversations, your sense of life, your experience of life, and you'd acknowledge how that one introduction can create a massive impact. So try that out, write that down, know what your experiment's going to be and when you're going to learn from it. And then the very last thing that we're going to go through today is this lovely diagram here, which I am very passionate about, which is a bit of neuroscience for you. Hopefully you can see it all. Might have to zoom out just slightly so you can see it properly. So look, how's that looking? Better. Okay, good. So, and you can tell that we're not starting at identity, we're actually starting at environment and working our way upwards. So let me tell the story in both directions. First of all, I'll tell it from environment to identity, and then I'll tell it from identity down to environment. So, have you ever noticed that your environment can shape the way that you behave? I guarantee you, when you was younger and you was on a school playground, you behaved very differently on a school playground than you did when you was having dinner with your family. Or you behaved very differently when you were playing football or going to dance classes, whatever you were doing when you were younger, to when you was with your grandparents, if you were fortunate enough to have grandparents. So your behaviour is definitely changed by your environment, right? How you are when you go down to the pub, or you go on holiday, or you go to the club, or you go shopping with your friends, is not the same as how you behave at work. The environment does shape and change our behaviour. Now, once we have that behaviour and we're navigating those micro moments that create our behaviour, why is everyone's behaviour different to each other? Well, it's because those people, they hold different beliefs about themselves. They hold different things to be true. Some people believe themselves to be joyful, happy people, so they'll be joyful and happy in any environment, but they will still change slightly their behaviour, right? Their tone of voice, the words they use, the speed in which they physically move, and how they engage will change. Other people have different beliefs about themselves, so they then are different in those different environments. Their behaviours are different because of their beliefs. And then some people act act and do things very differently, right? Oh no, I won't do that. Oh yes, I will do that. Oh, let's talk about this, or let's go there, or oh, don't say that. Why does that happen? That's not about their beliefs. That's about their values. That's about what they care for. That's about how much they value career over spirituality versus family, like we were just discussing a minute ago, right? And whether some people like money, and they like money over intimate relationships, right? Maybe money didn't even make it in to the exercise we did a minute ago, whereas for some people it would have been front and center, right? Money, career, wealth might have been their 3 boxes, for example, whereas others might have said intimate relationship, spirituality, family. So there's no career, there's no money in there, because they value things differently. And so what does that mean? That means that they're just going to be shaped differently by the environments they're in, and they're going to feel very different as a result of it. Now, all of that means that their identity is formed around something concrete in particular. So, for example, when I was 19, I used to hang around, probably about 18 actually, I used to hang around with the local lads in my area. What environments were we in? We were in pubs, we were in football stadiums, we were hanging out on street corners. What was our behaviour? It was normally loud, rude, a bit violent. What did we believe? We believed that we had nothing, we needed to get everything, and that nothing was going to be given to us for free. We believed that the world around us didn't give us any leg up, didn't give us any opportunity. We were all stuck in our own belief that there was no way forward. What did we value? We valued friendship, we valued camaraderie, we valued bonds. Our identity at the time was probably football hooligans or something of that nature, right? Versus when I went to university and my environment has now changed. There's books, there's educated people, and there's middle classy, upper classy people that are there. How was my behaviour? Well, I started having really in-depth, detailed discussion with people. We talk about law, economics, politics. We talk about different parts of the world, different dynamics of English history, things that I'd never questioned before. How would I be? Well, I would no longer be loud and rude and abrasive. I would be more contemplative, I'd be more thoughtful, I'd be more reflective. What did that change about my beliefs? Well, I started to see that actually every path is possible in life. We can go down any path that we want, we just need to actually believe it to be true. So what did I start to value as a result of that? I started to value knowledge, I started to value discussion, I started to value having a non-biased relationship, like friendship around you. What was my identity? Well, I guess I started to become a bit of a pseudo-philosopher, right? I started to believe that I was someone who had something to share with the world at that moment in time. Now, again, the environment's always changed. It shapes how you are. I can keep going about when I started on my graduate scheme. I can tell you about when I started my own businesses. I can tell you about when I've started my own social impact companies. I can tell you about moving country to Spain. I can tell you about moving country to Dubai, a Muslim country. I can tell you about visiting different parts of the world, like when I went traveling to Mexico and Guatemala, or when I went to see family in Pakistan. That environment just shapes everything. It's so powerful. But also who you are as an identity and what you value, what you believe, also then sort of combats against the environment and enables you to take shape and take form within it. So that's just an added bonus, right? That's just something I wanted you to be aware of. It's going to help you when we get to the next lesson. But it's just a concept. It is based on neuroscience and behaviour science, and so there's lots of academia around it. What I would suggest you do is just focus on the exercise that we were just speaking about before this one. So focus on the experiment, right? Focus on the experiment of what do you value, how can you move your inhabitants, your life experience of those values forward. Whether you wrote things down for career or for family or for spirituality, or you wrote completely different things down, or you chose different values and you wrote completely different ideas down, choose no more than 3 out of the ideas you came up with. Decide when you're going to stop and learn and reflect, to see what you have learnt from trying to introduce those new things into your life. And then I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.